Leah and her sisters, the Brown sisters, have performed at Portland Trailblazers games, sung with Aaron Meyer and Michael Allen Harrison, and appeared as soloists with the Oregon Symphony at the Gospel Christmas. They used to open for Dr. Maya Angelou when she visited Portland, and she said about them, they have God in their throats. Leah's faith and music have saved her in a time of trials. Thank you, Leah, for coming.
Gospel reading. Gospel reading from Lent, Black Liturgies by Cole Arthur Riley. Is not this the kind of fasting I have chosen? To loose the chains of injustice and untie the cords of the yoke? To set the oppressed free and break every yoke? Could you wonder for 40 years if it meant freedom? If you listen, you can still hear them groaning when they were reduced, only to find that freedom is never so easily won. That liberation is a path marked by uncertainty and thirst and grief over all that was lost in the revolution. In Exodus, we were faced with God of slow rescue. For 40 days, leading to the remembrance of the death of Christ, we commit to remembering our chains. We make our home in the wilderness, in the liminal spaces where liberation has begun, but sorry and hunger remain. In this season, we choose solidarity with all those who are suffering, the displaced, the abused, the oppressed, and neglected. As we move into solidarity, we remind ourselves presence is not solidarity. Knowledge is not solidarity. Solidarity is the kind of unity that costs us something. Lent shifts the scales of the cosmos back toward a balance of provision and justice. So the question of this sacred season is not, what food are you giving up for Lent? It is, what practice of solidarity with the suffering are you choosing? We honor the complexity of hunger and desire, and we find ourselves liberated into a season not rooted in scarcity, but in justice, healing, and the welfare of those who have long awaited their portion. These are the holy words.
Praise to you, Jesus Christ.
Amen. Trouble in my way, I have to cry sometimes. So much trouble, I have to cry sometimes. I laid awake at night, but that's all right, 'cause I know that Jesus, he will fix it after a while. Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. We have the meaning, the definition of faith is complete trust or confidence in something or someone. Now, the word complete in itself is having all of the necessary or appropriate parts to the greatest extent or degree. It's the total. It's not incomplete, but it's the total package. That's what our faith is. We have to walk by faith and not by our sight. So I'm going to talk about seeing the unseen. Way back when Black music started, yes, the spirituals were taken from church hymns and psalms, but the spirituals were more defined by the hardships and the brutalities of enslavement, of slavery. The slaves would sometimes be singing these spirituals. They would be communicating with other slaves, talking about their soon-to-be freedom, or having a faith in wanting to get out. They didn't want the slave owners to know what they were talking about. So when they endured the harsh beatings, they were seeing the unseen. When they had to spend grueling mornings, noon and night, picking cotton, they were seeing the unseen. When their babies and themselves were being raped, men, women, boys, and girls, they were seeing the unseen. So our ancestors, they were carrying all this weight. They had a faith of where they could not see the outcome of what was to be. They might not have been able to see their freedom, but they were enduring for the freedom of their children and their children's children. So we could have freedom, they could have justice, they could have prosperity, and they could have healing in their homes. Jesus Christ, though, he was the ultimate bearer of our sins. He bore all of our grief and our atrocities so that we might have the faith to make it through what we're going through. I like to say my dear mother, she was very dear, Charlene Marie Brown. I know that there was trouble in her way raising 6 children. You know, when you're having a baby, or with some of you, you know there's a prize at the end, which is the life. But sometimes you have to go through the troubles. So a mom may have swollen feet. Her taste buds, her smell might make her vomit. She might have varicose veins. You know, you name it, she could have it because she's creating life inside. I know that my mother she didn't see what I would become, but she had a faith to see the unseen and trusted God that I would be born with a purpose. That my sister and my sisters and my 2 brothers would be born with a purpose. And when we were young, I'm the second of 6. When we were young, maybe 8 or 9, 10 or 11, I don't quite remember. But the first set of Brown sisters, the first 3, because Rachel, our baby sister, she was too young. She was like 2 years old. But we were in a bedroom and we started just singing, making up notes and tunes and harmonies. We don't remember that time, but I know that we were born into faith. We were at church 5 days a week. Our parents, they grew up in the faith. My grandparents, Richard E. Lawrence, as was stated earlier, he was the founder of our church. My grandmother put my mother, who was the oldest of the 11, on the piano and organ at 10. She said, Charlene, you're going to play. We need someone to help the church start. So you're going to play this piano. And so that faith was brewing from when I was in my mother's womb. The songs were stirring. My mother couldn't see it then. I definitely couldn't see it then. But here I am today, representing what God designed through his faith. I know that we all have trials to go through this life. It's not easy. But if we can keep the faith, we're going to be able to see the end. I know a time in my life early when I was married, the story is you're going to get married, you're going to have some kids. You think it's going to happen just like everyone says it's going to happen. It doesn't. You might be surprised. You think that, okay, well, this is how my life is supposed to go because I grew up in church. I did everything that I thought I was supposed to do. No, I wasn't perfect, but you think that it's going to be better than what it's going to be. And so I was excited. We somewhat planned the pregnancy saying, okay, let's start trying to get pregnant after 3 years of marriage or whatever. So I got pregnant after, I think, 3 years. I think it was 3 years. And 95. And I was all excited. It's like, I'm pregnant. I'm going to have a baby. Tell everybody. That was the summer of 95. Well, in the fall of 95, I had a miscarriage. Yes, it was sad. I had the comfort of my family, of my friends, of my parents, of all those that loved me to support me through this. And they would ask me, are you going to have any more? Are you going to try? I'm like, yes, because I was seeing the unseen. I knew that I was going to have children. I didn't know how it was going to formulate, but I knew. So the next year, 1996, early on, God blessed me to conceive again. And I had the wonderful pleasure of being pregnant with my older sister, she's on Zoom today. Hi, Joanna. Love you, sis. And my friend, Melissa Gray, who is a special friend. They are on Zoom today. And I love them so dearly. And so we were pregnant together. We were probably due a month from each other. So as pregnancy went along, in our second trimester, I'd asked my sister, do you feel your baby moving much? And she goes, oh yeah, all the time. I feel, and I said, I don't feel my baby kick very often. And I was kind of concerned, but I said, you know what? I'm sure I'm going to have this baby. It's going to be fine. And when it got to October, how you have the ultrasound. So this was just a normal ultrasound, and my husband wasn't available to be with me. So my friend, who is on Zoom now, Melissa Gray, I worked with her, and she also went to our church. So she said, I'll go with you, Leah. I'll go with you to your ultrasound. So we went to the ultrasound, and the ultrasound technician he must have had a really bad cold because he was like sneezing and coughing and so I was just trying to figure out, okay, you seem really sick and why are you here? But he was just doing his thing, looking, and I didn't think much of it. I was just, waiting. I don't know what I was really thinking, but I was pretty calm. So me and Melissa, we were just sitting there, and then he turned off the machine and he told us to go into a different room for a while. And I just said, oh, you know what? I'm sure everything's fine. Maybe there's some complications with like low amniotic fluid or just, whatever, but I think it's going to be okay. Then the technician came in and said, oh, I want you to go across the street, go across the Sky Bridge, because it was Best Kaiser and they still had the maternity ward open over on Greeley. And they said, just go over there. We're going to just have you go over there and admit you. So I went over there. They put a bracelet on me. I got on the scale, and it was like all the nurses and doctors were like staring at me almost in a solemn look, but I didn't know it at the time. And then I was brought into the room. It was the most gorgeous day. It was October 30th, I believe. Yes, it was just the most gorgeous, beautiful day outside. And so we were talking, I was in the bed, the doctor came in, and I was 7.5 months. And he said, there's sometimes that I like my job, I really do. And there's other times where, not so much. And he said, your baby's heart stopped beating. And it was like, I froze, and yet I still felt that someone was carrying me. And my friend Melissa, she was comforting me. She was right by my side. And even in that darkest moment, I still had faith that God must be knowing what he's doing, because he's going to work something out in me. I can't see it, but he's going to do something great. And through my faith, through my parents, through my grandparents and my family, I got through that moment. And I still had people asking me, are you still going to try to have a baby? And I said, yes, because I have faith that there's going to be something great for me. And fast forward to the very next year, 1997, I had a beautiful baby boy. He is 26 now. And then in 98, I had a daughter. So I had some troubled times. I was tired a lot those first few years. And then we also have a third son. So, and I have bonus children that I helped to raise at young ages too, which I love dearly. And through it all, I couldn't see it then, but I still kept the faith that God, you're going to honor my request. You love me so much that you're going to allow me to be a mother, and you're going to allow me to sing to them, teach them about faith, to keep it going, to carry it on. And I want to say that in order to see the unseen, you have to keep the faith, and you have to never give up. Because once you give up, you're not going to know what God has for you at the end. Oh, that's my timer. I didn't want to go over my time, but I do have a few minutes left. But I just thank God for what he birthed in me, which is to have that faith. And I wanted to say, he only wants us to have even a little bit of faith, the faith of a mustard seed. Do you know how small a mustard seed of faith is? It is 1 millimeter. If you dropped that seed, you would not be able to find it. If you have just a mustard seed faith, you can move mountains. You can do great things, but you have to keep the faith and never give up. Thank you. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land. Tell, oh, Pharaoh, to let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land. And I need you to tell, oh, Pharaoh, to let my people go. Right on, King Jesus. No man cannot hinder me. Right on, King Jesus. Right on. No man cannot hinder me. No man cannot hinder me. Right on, King Jesus. No man cannot hinder me. Right on, King Jesus. Right on. No man cannot hinder me. No man cannot hinder. In that great getting up morning, fare you well, fare you well. In that great getting cannot hinder me. Ooh, 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 ooh. Right on, King Jesus. Soon I will be done with the trouble of this world. The trouble of this world. The trouble of this world. Soon I will be done with the troubles of this world. I'm going home to live with God. Soon I will be done with the troubles of this world. The troubles of this world. The troubles of this world. Soon I will be done with the troubles of this world.